So earlier this morning, a new Mushoku Tensei PV trailer came out, and just straight up, I love this PV trailer. It's absolutely incredible, getting to see some returning characters like here's Zanoba from Season 1, and then a bunch of new characters that are introduced, but also another returning character that appears once again. And some of you might recognize this character, and some of you might not. And to make sure we're all on the same page here, this character has already been introduced in Season 1. However, if you do not recognize him, do not worry. There is still time for you to kind of, understand who this is. Basically, there was an OVA episode that came out months after Season 1 came to an end, which was an Eris OVA, where she saved this boy, or went on an adventure, so to speak, with this boy, and, she came to find out, his name was Cliff. And basically, Eris was constantly gushing about Rudy continuously throughout that episode towards Cliff, and, Cliff felt like he was a little bit like, there's no way Rudy's this amazing, etc. That's kind of what happened within the episode. It's just, while, Eris was slaying goblins and all of that, and while the events were taking place with Eris within that OVA, the time span was where Rudy and Paul were having their argument, to where they were both, at each other's throats, and they were not being able to come to an understanding. That's when the events of the Eris OVA happened. So technically, when we look at the events of what's happened in MT Season 2 so far, years have passed since that event with Eris and Cliff, but even then, it is still very important. So I wanted to mention that, because there's definitely going to be some of those that are going to watch this upcoming episode and be blindsided. So if you have not seen that OVA, like I said, I highly recommend you do. It's very important, actually. It legitimately is, and I am happy that, Studio Bind did do that OVA episode to at least, introduce the character. But okay, let's back up for a second, and let's actually talk about, this episode. This episode, what it's looking like so far, it's looking to be an absolute blast. They have no chill. Like, okay, can we just talk about this for a second? Can I talk about this for a second? Like, Elena is such a unapologetically, hound dog of a character. Like, she is such a pervert, it's hilarious. But, because, the last episode that we watched, I talked about it already, it was pretty much majority of the runtime was her getting railed the entire episode. That's literally what it was. And it's like, Studio Bind literally made an episode that was pretty much the focus around that, which is just hilarious to so many different levels. Like, I cannot stop laughing in my head because of that. But the point of the matter is that this character's introduction, obviously, has definitely caused a lot of fans being like, oh, she's a best girl and all that type of stuff. And she's a pretty enjoyable character, legitimately. And seeing this little brief screenshot of her within this PV, you can already tell what's about to happen. Like, I don't think I need to explain what's about to happen in this academy with this individual going into the university. I don't think I need to say anything. I think it explains itself just by the way she presents herself in the screen. It's too good. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be funny. I cannot wait to see the community's reaction to it. But, anyways, as, the PV trailer continues, we get a bunch of returning characters from episode 0. We get, the princess, we get her, right-hand man, and then we also get Fitz, which, as we know, is Sylphie, thanks to episode 0, and so, we get to see, a bunch of characters returning and all that, and Rudy's finally gonna come face to face with his childhood friend. Obviously, she's a little bit different. She doesn't have green hair anymore, but at the same time, it is his childhood friend. And as you can see, this upcoming episode, they're gonna be getting to meet face to face, which, this is a very important moment that I do need to kind of hammer in. The main objective of Mushoku Tensei, before the displacement incident, before, Eris and Rudy and everybody else around that region got teleported around the world, the main objective of the story was Rudy going to the academy to learn magic with Sylphie. That's what his goal was. Like, for instance, the whole reason he met Eris to begin with was because he needed a job, he needed money, and Paul sent him off to make money for he could be independent, but also be able to, work up enough money to be able to pay for his overall, tuition for the university, but also for Sylphie. That's what he wanted to do. And so everything about it, that was the objective of the beginning of the story, was for him to be able to, or for her and him to go learn magic. Because at that point in time, Rudy felt like he reached a plateau. He, reached the end game, so to speak, at least from his perspective so far, for magic. Because he learned everything he could from Roxy, and he wasn't making any more progression, so to speak, with magic. So he needed something else to really push him, to allow him to expand his knowledge. And obviously, a university for magic is definitely everything that you want if you want to learn more about magic. And obviously, since Sylphie was able to do, incantationless magic as well as him, obviously them going together would be very fun. So that was the objective, so to speak, at the beginning of the story. And now with everything that's out of the way, for instance, with Zenith technically being found and Paul and all them are handling it, to, Eris technically back home and doing her own thing, she's alive, and Rudy knows Sylphie's alive thanks to the whole, people missing tablet when he was reading the board at the end of Season 1, he's found pretty much his entire family. He knows where they're at, and so he doesn't really need to go searching anymore, so now he can finally focus on other things in his life. And obviously for the past few years, he's been dealing with, ED, he's been dealing with those issues, he's been dealing with his depression thanks to Eris leaving him, all these different things, but now that he's finally gotten some form of, hold of himself, a little bit more of a hold of himself, he's finally going to learn magic. And I think it's really fascinating, because once again, it goes back into the roots of the story, and it's what many of us loved about MT when it first started. I think everybody, when they first started this story, when they first watched the anime, because that's how I got into the series, one of the big drawing factors that made me enjoy Mushoku was the magic system. Just Rudy learning magic. It was a very organic moment, him just learning magic, expanding his mana pool. It was very immersive, and I love that about the series. And now that we're finally going back to that, it's just it's rekindling that love that really got us all into it. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's legitimately, this is a great PV trailer. I also like this little shot here I want to point out, is that this is the wand that Rudy had when he was a kid. I think everybody's gonna, recognize it. But it's nice to see that, Sylphie, or Fitz, has been keeping this around in her hand for all these years. She hasn't forgotten about her promise or connection with Rudy. It's very cute. It's very beautiful. You love to see it. And also, overall character design of Fitz right here, love it. I love the cape, the robe, and all that. It's so nice looking. I mean, I saw the concept art, obviously, in the light novel work, but just seeing it actually in movement in anime form is legitimately nice to see. But, yeah, that is the PV trailer. I wanted to talk about it because, there's a few things that people might be unaware of, but also remind everybody the absolute... of course I click on this, scene. But the absolute importance of just, how the OVA was, and also the beginning of, the story was for this very moment. But, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. May all of you have a fantastic day or night wherever you live. Be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.